Look, nymphing can be frustrating sometimes,
Oh my!
but it's probably the most effective way to catch fish, especially out of a river. So I'm on my way to meet up with Alex, and we are going to spend the day showing y'all how to fish with nymphs. We'll cover knowing what flies to use, how to know your flies are at the right depth, what gear to use, how to cast these heavier multi-fly rigs, how to detect a strike, how to set the hook, and how to fight fish and get them in the net. Let's get her done.
We just pulled up to the river and we are rigging up. Say hi, Spencer.
I can't. I'm busy rigging up your rod.
Yeah, we're keeping him busy. But we thought it would be a fun little challenge today. If every fish that we caught on a nymph, you can't use that nymph the rest of the day. So, for example, if Spencer were to catch a fish on a zebra midge right now, can't use a zebra midge the rest of the day.
Did I agree to this?
You sure did. That's why we're here.
So if I catch one on a zebra midge, I can't use it, or we both
We both can't use it. Yeah.
Yeah, because fishing on camera is not
We thought it would be good to do that just to show a variety of different nymphs and rigs and how to achieve different depths with like weighted flies, non-weighted flies, bigger flies, smaller flies. And so now the question remains, what fly should we tie on first? And we have two schools of thought. First, we can match the hatch. So let's grab a rock and see what we have underneath. Oh, that's a big old sow bug right there, and then a ton of tiny little mayflies. You see that? So a sow bug might be a good play, a mayfly might be a good play. Oh, look at all those sow bugs. Those are huge. Yeah, and then tiny mayflies. So I could tie on a mayfly pattern, I could tie on a sow bug, or Spencer, he's gonna use the other approach. I'm not gonna call it the lazy approach, but
It's the approach where you don't want to get your hands wet, all right? It's early spring, and I know based on bug trends that in early spring, we're going to see mayflies start moving in addition to midges hatching and then scuds and sow bugs. And then on top of that, we've also got some rainbow trout spawning in the system, so there's going to be eggs out and about. So I'm just going to use the knowledge I have of the bugs that should be out and let that inform my fly choice.
so it's not the lazy method, it's the wise angler method.
Oh, you're just saying that because.
All right, let's get fishing.
So for fly choice, I went with 3 old reliables. I got a zebra midge on first, a squirmy worm, and then an egg bomber. And I really just want to get on the board. I like to do that when we go fishing. So I put all 3 confidence flies on, stuff I believe in. One of them's going to get off the board here hopefully soon, but at least I know I'm fishing flies that have a good chance of working. So this is an interesting run we've got here because we've got this big shelf. You can actually see it. And then all this water just piles off into this nice deep that I'm fishing. You can even see this color change right here in front of me. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to drift these nymphs right on the edge of the color change, and I'll work my way up to that shelf because we know fish love transitions. They love places where it goes from shallow to deep or even just light to dark bottoms. They love those transitions. Now that might mean that I have to adjust my rig a little bit because this water that I haven't fished yet is a little bit quicker. So that might mean that I've got to put some split shot on. I currently don't have any on. That might mean that I need to lengthen the distance between my indicator and my flies so they have more time to drop down. I'm gonna do a few drifts and I'll make adjustments based on whether I'm catching anything or if I'm catching bottom.
Yeah, that looks like bottom.
It's a real wiggly bottom. Oh, it's your favorite fish, Alex.
Yeah, I just talked to the rules committee. We're gonna make an exception and whitefish count.
Really? So this whitefish ate the squirmy worm.
Oh, the squirmy's off the board?
If whitefish count, are we gonna count
Yeah,
them?
whitefish count.
All right.
So the squirmy worm is off the board. I just decided to go with what I saw under the rocks. So I have a scud muffin on to imitate those sow bugs. And I have a CDC pheasant tail to imitate some mayflies. Want a little more natural. I've also been using eggs and worms and all that this winter, and I'm kind of sick of using those. So we're gonna switch it up. I'm fishing the same hole Spencer was just fishing. I'm starting at the back again because I have different flies. So maybe there's a fish back here that Spencer's flies drifted past and they didn't want those. Maybe they want mine. Yep. Another whitey. Yep. And the pheasant tail is off the board. Spencer was caught red-handed. He was trying to tie on the squirmy worm again.
No, I wasn't. No, I'm putting on a little sow bug pattern that I've actually never fished before, but was recommended to me by a buddy of mine who works in a fly shop. I don't know the name of this pattern. I don't remember, so we'll just call it the sparkly sow because it's got a little sparkle on it. Fish are gonna love it. Now I'm utilizing a roll cast here instead of an overhead cast, partly because Alex is right behind me. And that was a really bad roll cast, so Alex, don't show that. But it's also just an easier way to handle these bigger rigs. That's a question we get a lot where folks want to know, well, how do you cast? Oh, is that a fish? That wiggled. I know I was in the middle of explaining something. Missed one. There's no moss on it. That was a fish. What was I talking about, Alex?
Roll cast.
Roll cast, yeah.
Yeah, how to cast heavy nymph rigs. That's a question we get all the time.
It is. So these heavy nymph rigs, the key that you have to remember with them is you do not want super tight, super fast loops. When you're taught to cast, you're usually taught with just a dry fly or maybe just a single nymph. And so with just one fly on there, you want tighter loops. You want the line moving a little bit quicker. But if you keep that loop really tight, when you've got 3 flies and split shot and a bobber on, you run the risk of all those flies hitting each other and getting tangled up that way. The other problem you run into is a lot of folks still try to cast a little too quickly with all these flies on. Okay, what I mean by that is when I've got all these flies, and I'll just show you real quick. When I've got all these flies, I need to give that line time to completely unfurl on both casts, because if that line doesn't straighten out all the way behind me when I push forward, what's going to happen is those flies that are still moving backwards are going to hit themselves, and that's where you get those giant, nasty, we call them wind knots, but they're really casting knots, where everything just looks like a giant rat's nest. So to avoid that, you slow the cast down, you open that loop up, and you make sure you're moving each cast, and I'm trying to exaggerate it right now, you're moving each cast only after the loops have completely opened. Now, I'm going to shut up about casting for a minute. I'm going to get serious about fishing. Let's do a little drifty drift through here. Who's going to catch the first trout today, Alex?
I was just about to say, can we get a trout in the net? Nice big old brown. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. That looks whitey. That was whitey written all over
Yeah,
it.
dang it!
Egg bomber.
Egg bomber's off the board. I'm upset that the egg bomber's off the board because I don't know what I'm going to use as weight to get my flies down now. But oh well. At least I performed well for the eagle. Caw-caw! Normally I'm worried about getting pooped on by birds, but if I got pooped on by a bald eagle, I'd consider that like my coronation as a true American.
So I just replaced that pheasant tail with a prince nymph. A prince nymph, you could consider it a stonefly pattern or an attractor. I'd say it's both. I just love them. They catch fish, man.
People don't use them enough anymore.
Do they not? Dude, I've used them my whole life.
I feel like the prince is like an old school fly. That's what like the grandpas tie
I
on.
guess I'm just old school.
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
I'm just working this shelf. We're still in the same hole. We're catching fish out of it, so no point in moving. Another question we get is, how do I know that my flies are drifting, number one, in the strike zone, and number two, naturally? And we'll cover strike zone. So Spencer talked about this a little bit, but if you're catching bottom every 4 or 5 casts, that usually means your flies are in the strike zone. They're just above the bottom, and then right at the end of the drift, they're catching the bottom. That's a good sign. Oh, that looked so fishy. No moss. I think that was a fish. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're either trying to catch fish or catch bottom every 4 or 5 casts. And so the way you can make sure that you're doing that is you can adjust the indicator, you can add split shot, you can stick fish.
First stick fish of the trip.
First stick fish of the trip, let's go. I just checked with the rules committee, that does not count, so the scud muffin is still in play. And so we have a number of options to adjust our rig. Always be adjusting, right? And we can either move our indicator up or down, we can add or subtract split shot, we can add heavier flies, lighter flies. Another sneaky one that most people don't talk about is you catch a fish, baby. Be a trout. Be a trout. It looks bigger, but it kind of feels like a whitey. Maybe a trout. If not, it's a big whitefish. Oh, a cutty. Cutthroat, dude. That's a good one.
Dude, that's a toad.
Scud muffin, baby. So we've moved to a new spot. Very subtle transition point from shallow to deep. It's super deep over here to my left, and it's very shallow over here to my right, and it kind of works up at an angle. So I'm just gonna keep walking along the shallow part and throwing my flies a little bit up to the right and letting them get into this deep stuff. And I'm expecting the fish to be in here somewhere. So I'm gonna chuck my flies 10 or 15 feet above that, give a nice mend, and then just wait for my flies to drop into the strike zone right about here. I'm gonna give another mend just to extend that drift. So we added some split shot. I'm gonna try and get it to drop a little bit more off that shelf. It's pretty crazy sometimes how just adding one little split shot can make all the difference. That indicator is cooking. So I'm gonna add another split shot. That water is really fast right there. Okay, now we have 2 split shot on. Come on, give us one more. There we go. Got one. Feels trouty. But just because I said that, now it's going to be a whitefish. He's going to try and get down in this faster stuff. And I'm trying to just move him over to the slower stuff. And I'm trying to stay downstream so that he doesn't get any funny ideas. Oh, that's a nice fish. This is where your heart starts to race. Oh, dude, the tail fin on that? Holy mother. Oh boy, this is where the adrenaline starts.
Is this an oh dude fish?
This might be an oh dude fish. That tail was really big.
Do I need to ditch the camera and grab a net?
No, we got him. We're just gonna keep working our way. He's cooperating. He hasn't seen me yet.
He hooked into Nessie.
At least he's cooperating. This is like really nice of him. Oh, there he goes. Oh, ah!
Oh,
Spoke too soon.
That's the big run in him.
Yeah, now he knows what's happening. See that? He's trying to like get downstream of me. Those big head shakes. So I'm trying to hustle downstream of him. Because if you think about it, if I was upstream of him, all that tension on my line is gonna pull the fly out of his mouth. Because he's facing upstream.
And I'm worried about getting too close because I don't want to.
Just stay there, I'll see what I can do.
I don't want to send him on another.
Holy cow, that tail fin's huge.
Yeah, I just saw it. That's a big fish.
Dude, it's a big old brown.
No, it's not.
All right, drop the freaking camera. I might be able to sneak him in. It's like pretty murky.
Hand me the net if you want. Here.
You see him?
Yeah.
Oh, he just saw you.
Yep, he did. Come on, bud. How you feeling? Nervous?
A little bit.
Excited?
Yeah. Just trying to focus. Oh, oh.
Oh!
Nice.
Woo! Is that your 2-foot brown trout? That might be, man. Look at him, he's got scars. Crap. He's seen some stuff, dude.
Dude, my heart. Holy crap. Oh.
Fly anglers, keeping cardiologists in business since the 1600s. Sweet mercy.
Dude,
let's get some footage of
way to
this guy.
freaking net that. Let's go.
I do what I can. So hopefully you learned a little something about nymphing today. We're out on the water. We caught 8 different fish on 8 different nymphs, which is pretty stinking cool. And again, hopefully you were able to see some stuff that illustrates nymphing for you, and maybe it clicks a little bit better now. And if you like this video, if there was something that you really loved that stuck out to you, leave a comment and let us know, because that kind of feedback helps us make even more helpful videos like this in the future. And speaking of videos like this, we've got a whole bunch more just like it. You can check them out right here.